Welcome to the Go Big with Gib podcast, where we talk to professionals, business owners, and entrepreneurs about their big wins. Welcome to this episode of Go Big with Gib. Today I've got a very good friend of mine here with us, Derek Peterson. Derek, how are you this morning?
Gib, because I'm talking to you, it's like the highlight of my week. So very excited to be on the show. Long overdue, man. I'm pumped.
Yeah, I'm stoked to have you on. You know, you are the only guest in the entire time that I've been doing the podcast. You are the only guest that has actually come on the podcast 2 times. This is your second time on the podcast. I know we talked a lot of real estate the first time, and today I want to talk more about lifestyle and all the cool stuff that you're doing. But yeah, it's an honor to have you on, and you're the only guest that has ever been on the podcast 2 times.
I feel honored and privileged to be on this for a second time. I'm excited to dive in today, and I can't wait for the third time, whenever that might be.
Yeah, bud, absolutely. So, Derek, you know, you're doing some really cool stuff in your life right now. Just go ahead and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so probably the biggest life change that a lot of people have a lot of interest in as of late, something we've been working on tirelessly for probably about a half a decade to make this happen, is my wife and I just recently sold all of our possessions. We sold our home, we sold our cars, we sold everything except for, personal mementos that, had meaning to them, but all material possessions. And we had a lot of them, Gib. We had a 6,000 square foot house, cars, like all the typical American stuff that you strive to get. We got rid of it all. It took a loss on a lot of it, with the exception of the house. We did well on that. And we are living, and we've reduced our life down to a carry-on and a backpack, and we're living for the next 3 years full-time nomadically on the road, running our business, running our life. I come to you now from Lisbon, Portugal, actually. So I'm sitting in my Airbnb at Lisbon, having this conversation, across the Atlantic with you in the Carolinas. So that's been a significant life change for us in balancing, this new lifestyle, going from, a life of predictability and certainty and overworking to a life of balance and uncertainty, right? Because there's so much. It's such a different lifestyle, which I know we're going to get into. But that's been the biggest change for us. Is we're full-time digital nomads. We're homeless.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about that, Derek. So first of all, how long have you been on your journey? How long have you been abroad? Because I know we're recording this episode in September of 2024. How long has it been that you all have been living on the road?
We've been living on the road now, Gib, for 6 weeks. So a full 6 weeks, and a fast-paced 6 weeks. We came out of the gun a little quicker than maybe we would have done. In that we've been to the Azores first for a week, then Madeira for 2 weeks, then we went to Porto, Portugal. All this is in Portugal. Then we went to Nazaré, which is a big surf spot. I know I sent you a message from there. And we now just landed in Lisbon. And from here we go to the Algarve in several weeks, and then to Pakistan, actually. So we've got, it's been a quick-paced start, which we knew it can be a little tiring sometimes, but we're handling it pretty well. I'd say we're finding our groove, we're finding our groove. But yeah, 6 weeks, man, six weeks. It's gone by like this, like in a flash. It's wild how fast 6 weeks goes.
Yeah, no, that's unbelievable. So let's go backwards a little bit. Tell me, how was it that you came about this plan, or came to the decision that you were going to make this huge life-altering, this huge change to your entire life? This is a massive change that I think most people would be very scared of. You sold all your worldly possessions. You're now on the road. You and Amy are having these experiences with each other. And I think you've talked about it as, I don't know if you went with the branding rich and homeless. Did you end up going with that?
We did, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. Talk to me a little bit about where the concept was created and how it came about.
Yeah. So when Amy and I met, this was back 2017, we quickly realized early in our relationship that we enjoyed traveling. And it actually started, I was sitting on a beach with her at Myrtle Beach. We're maybe been dating like a month, 6 weeks, something like that. And I owned a medical distribution business at the time, and I was flicking through my phone, and I was like, hey, I need to get into Instagram. I need to start working on my social media game a little bit more, right? I was doing all this other marketing for my business, and I noticed that a lot of pictures on Instagram were people traveling, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But then I noticed they were like promoting at the same time, and then a light bulb went off. I realized what an influencer was. I was like, oh, these people are actually leveraging their audience to get some form of a free experience or collaboration with these hotels, tourism boards, countries, whatever. And they're traveling, I assumed, for free or at a discount. And I had a struggling medical distribution business at the time, and I was like, man, I want to travel more. I've got this new girl. I was like, I want to whisk her around the world. And I was like, hey, let's do this. Let's go do this. And she's like, you're nuts. I was like, no, we're going to do it, right? So we opened up this Instagram account, and I had a different name at the time. It was called like Live an Extraordinary Life or something like that. It was really too long, but it was our first attempt at sort of branding in the travel space. Now we have a travel company, but that was the inception of it. And we started doing it. We started traveling. If you go to Amy and Derek Travel in Instagram now, you'll see that page, right? So, and you can even scroll back and look at some of the cheesy photos we took for collaborations with other companies. But we had a really good time, and we realized that Amy and I connect the most while we're traveling. So that sort of sparked this whole idea of doing more and more of it. So when I decided to tie the knot and get married in 2019, I had this crazy idea. I'm like, I want to take you literally around the world. I want to go do an around the world honeymoon for 2 months. Let's circumvent the globe, right? That would be cool. And what we had to go through in order to get to that point, Gib, was a challenge, right? I walked away from my medical distribution business. I said, I'm going to start a marketing firm, and I'm going to start a travel agency, and I'm going to make those my two businesses because I one day want to be a full-time traveler. Let's go see if we like this. So we rearranged our lives. Amy was a dental hygienist. She pulled into the travel industry, and we did the around the world honeymoon. Then COVID hit, hunkered down, and we said, hey, and we hunkered down. We didn't know how long COVID was going to last, year and a half, whatever. And when travel started opening back up, we were the first people out there having a good time traveling. And we started to find ourselves traveling, Gib, about 1/3 of the year we were on the road. And we went to Egypt and Turkey and like all these cool exotic places, Jordan, with our kids and by ourselves. And I was like, you know what? One day I could see doing this full time. And I watched these YouTube videos of these travel influencers, kind of like where we started, and I saw them doing it. I was like, man, it would be really cool to run your businesses from another country. And the businesses we're in are raising capital, marketing, and the third one being the travel industry. All three, by design, were created to be able to get to a point where we could do this full time. So the beginning of 2020, we'll just say a year ago, we made the decision, right? We were halfway through finishing our basement, Gib. We're pouring all this money into it. And I was like, we just had this moment where like, what the hell are we doing? Like, why are we building more space when all the kids have left or going to be leaving in just a matter of months? Why do we need all this stuff? We feel most alive when we travel. And it was just a decision. It was just a moment we had where we realized we connect more when we travel. And I felt myself, Gib, falling into complacency, the typical working American hustle, 12 hours a day, then going home, Netflix and chill, sitting next to your wife and not having a conversation. While we traveled, it was in those other moments where I was like, this isn't living, there's another way. And I started watching how the Europeans do it. And I was like, I feel like I can design my life differently. I can extract myself from my businesses and create more systems and processes to do this. So in order to do that, we had to go in to get out, right? So I had to dive into the businesses, which you can dive into, to be able to create systems and processes so that I could live a lifestyle where now I no longer work 12 hours a day. I work 4, and I get more done, and I'm able to go enjoy myself and have a good time. But arriving at that decision was through that story, that journey I just took you on, was just a series of decisions and realizations, but really more of an awakening to, the American hustle, which I love. It's in me, but I've just twisted it a bit, and I'm doing something different with it while we're over here, which we can dive into. But I had to go after something really, really hard. I like really hard, challenging things. So I said, yeah, let's go for this. And I just had a conversation with Amy this morning over breakfast. I'm like, what's next? We did it. Like, what are we going to do now? Right? So she's like, oh, you MFer. Like, can we just slow down for a second? So yeah, man, that was how we arrived at the decision. It was a process over years, a half a decade to get here, but a year of gut-wrenching work to make it happen.
So talk to me a little bit about your like athleticism in the past. Like I know you. Derek, I've known you for a long time. I know you're a very intense dude, and I think some people just really thrive on living like a very with a lot of intensity, and I think you're one of those people. And like I know you've run like, is it ultras? You're an ultra runner. What do you call what you used to do? You used to do like triathlons and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, so if I could lift my leg up, you could see my calf has an Ironman tattoo on the bottom there. And if I showed too much skin to your editors, sorry. So an Ironman triathlete. So for a decade, I got heavily into the sport of Ironman triathlon. For those who don't know what that is, it's a race. It's a triathlon. It's 2.4 mile swim, followed by 112 miles on a bike, and then you run a 26.2 mile marathon, which is one of the hardest endurance races. Now they have ones that are crazier. Was one that I was actually just talking to Amy about when I said the next thing I want to do. I can actually share that. By me professing it, I guess I'll have to do it. But I just talked to her about it this morning. But I did that for a decade. So I did 6 full Ironmans, a bunch of marathons. I did do a 50-mile ultra marathon race. So anything over a marathon is called an ultra marathon. So if you write 26.3, it's technically an ultra marathon. But I've done a 50-mile race in Bryce Canyon, Utah. So hard endurance races. To me, I think like the physicality that comes from it, I found very addicting. Like I get that runner's high, that euphoric feeling after you work. Gib, I know you run and you actually you understand that feeling, and it's like the greatest drug. It's the healthiest drug, and it was in those moments of long training. You're out there doing 3-hour runs, 6-hour bike rides. It's just you and your mind. You have a lot of good thoughts, self-reflections, and personal growth that occur in those moments. But what it does is you put something hard on your plate, just like getting to this point where I'm having this conversation with you from Portugal. Like, it was really, really hard. There was points I worked so like to the bone where I had this spell where I was throwing up and I didn't know why. And it was because I was so fatigued that it was making me nauseous. And I was like, oh, wow. I had anxiety at times because I was working so much, but I was like, I gotta get here. I know this is part of the pain. This is part of the journey. This is part of the experience. Because when you do achieve, like you cross the finish line of an Ironman, or you do some big life goal like what we've done now, the level of accomplishment and that you get from that, and your personal container of what you have the ability to handle just expands, right? So when life throws you kind of a shitty curveball, you're like, whatever, no problem, right? I got this. So that's that intensity I thrive on for sure. So it's I'm just now inviting that back into my life, the athletic side, because that intensity has been through my businesses as of late. But now I'm ready to dip back in because I'm nearing 50. I was like, I gotta step it back up again, Gib. Start racing again. So yeah, I'm gonna start racing again. Not Ironman, something different.
Okay. What kind of race are you contemplating?
So I always thought it'd be really cool to do something epic when I turn 50. Right. So I'll be 49 in October, and then obviously 50 the next year. And there's this race I've been eyeing for, the last decade, and it's a race where it's all organized. It's super expensive. Only I think like 150 or 60 people have done it. Maybe it's a little bit more, because I think there's only been three of them. But it's It's 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 different continents. So you're, yeah, so you're stupid, right? So you're chartered like on a private jet, and I mean, the 7 continents, right? Like one of them's Antarctica, right? So they land that plane right on the ice, and you get out and you run, and it's -15 or whatever it is, and you run a full 26.2 marathon on ice, and I think the next day you're in like Dubai, right? So you're like in the desert. So it's and from having done long distance endurance racing for so many years, the race is actually typically not the hardest part. That you enjoy that. It's the training, the discipline to leading up to preparing for that, and then arriving at the finish line not hurt or overtrained or having injuries and stuff like that. That's the biggest accomplishment. And then when you get to the race, if you do it right, it's just like you're just there for the ride. Like your heart and your legs and everything are primed and ready to go. But it's training for something like that, living nowhere, I thought would be really cool, right? To be able to do some training runs. And what a great way to explore a city where I got to go run 12 miles through it, or 20 or 5. And I was like, and what a cool way I want to do it, Gib, where we raise charity or raise money for some charity. I don't know what that is. I'm open for ideas from anybody for a good cause, because something of that magnitude gets a lot of attention, especially training for it in this type of environment. And I think we could probably raise a good bit of money for it. We've got a little experience raising some money with you, as you know. So we just raising it for a good cause, something out of benevolence. So that's I'm eyeing it, man. I'm really, really, really considering it. Now that I put it out there and it's going to go out into the ether, I guess I got to do it now.
Yeah, you've spoken it into existence, Derek, and now you've got to do it. That sounds like an amazing adventure. Talk to me a little bit about your itinerary. I mean, I know that you're living a nomadic lifestyle, and you've sold all your worldly possessions, and you're traveling all over the world. You've mentioned that you're in Portugal now, and I think you said you're going to Pakistan next. Do you have like can you kind of give us a overview of like, the next 6 months, where you'll be, how long you're going to be there, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so we're doing Portugal for a total of about 3 months. And the reason for that is, we did not get a visa. So you can come to what's called the Schengen region of Europe, which is most European countries collectively have this agreement. They call it the Schengen region. And you can stay here for 90 out of 180 rolling days. Otherwise, I'd stay here longer. So we have to leave, basically, and go to other parts of the world, which is fine. So we're here until mid-October. Then from there, we're going to Pakistan for about 10 days. Then from Pakistan, we're going to Dubai. It's right around the corner, so to speak. And the reason is we're leaving the Schengen region, and then we're going to go back to Europe. We're going back to Germany to meet with actually some friends from back home. My buddy works for the NFL, and he's going to be in Germany because the Carolina Panthers are playing, I'm not sure, somebody else in Munich in early November. So we're going to go meet up with them. So we're going to fly back to Europe, do the Germany thing, and then from there, that should place us a few days or a week or so before Thanksgiving. So the plan is to come back to the U.S., and do the round of family and friends from Thanksgiving through Christmas. So that means going and visiting my daughters in college, and a daughter in South Carolina. I got my mom, and one of my daughters is up in Pennsylvania. So we're going to kind of do a round where we'll stay with them. And it's funny, quick aside, sometimes we take for granted having our friends and family so close to us. You know what I mean? I've noticed that. My mom used to live an hour away from me, and I didn't spend as much time as I probably could have. Both of us reciprocally with each other. But now, the time we have with our friends and family is of a higher quality because we either fly them over here and they spend time with us here, or we go and we actually stay with them. So it's like intense, meaningful time together, and we've really enjoyed that aspect of it. versus that like quick dinner here and there where you got to run home and worry about mowing your grass or taking care of your house. We don't have one, right? So we have nothing to worry about just except for our friends and our family. So it's been so we're going to spend the holidays there, and then we're going to bounce down to South America. We're still planning that leg, but because of the kind of the reverse seasons, we're going to chase summer a little bit, Gibbs. So we'll probably end up in like Colombia, Paraguay, Uruguay, the northern part, and then Brazil of South America for the first part of 2025. So that's the plan so far. And then I think the next year, Bali. The next summer, so Bali, Thailand, Vietnam, like all that whole part of the world. So we'll see geopolitically what's going on. You know what I mean? So we got to kind of play that. That's got to factor in. But we don't walk in fear. We trust in God having our back, and we travel without any fear of what. A lot of people are like, oh, you're going to Pakistan. Why? Right? And like, Pakistan's a beautiful place. I'm like, don't believe what you hear in the media and all that stuff. There's a lot of beautiful, awesome, amazing things and people to see there. So that's part of why we're going there, is to show people that, right? To open people's eyes.
This episode of Go Big with Gib is brought to you by Irons Equity. At Irons Equity, we specialize in helping investors like you create long-term generational wealth and save money on taxes through recession-resistant real estate investments that create passive income for you and your family. If you want to secure your financial future, go to investwithgib.com to schedule a 30-minute introductory meeting with me, Gib Irons. Again, that's investwithgib.com. No, that's amazing. That's amazing. So talk to me about the financial piece of all this. Like, how has this affected you financially? Did you have any insights, first of all, from selling all your worldly possessions? Like, that must be an interesting thing. I've thought about that many times. Like, what would it be like if I sold all my assets today? Like, where would I end up if I got rid of all my assets today? A financial reset could actually, most people don't experience that until they die.
You're right. I never thought of that. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
I mean, it's a crazy thing to think about, but for somebody that's done it, what insights do you have? What takeaways did you learn from it?
I'll start with the biggest one. It's been mind-blowingly amazing. To go from a life of materialism to a life of minimalism. You always hear people, there's documentaries on minimalism, you always people talking about it. And I was kind of like, I would kind of scoff at it, Gib, and I'd be like, I was like, wow, what do you mean you have no car? What are you, crazy? Right? No watch, whatever, like any of that stuff. And then the more as I grew older, bought the houses, cars, the things, I was like, sure, that made me happy for a minute, but I realized that they don't really make me happy. And at the end of the day is when I die, unless they bury me with those things, the things I take with me are the memories and experiences. So I was like, all right, we're going to try this minimalism thing. We're just going to rip the Band-Aid off. And as we sold everything, I remember working like in my house, and Amy was responsible, my wife, for selling all those things. And just day by day, I saw couches and chairs and stuff just leaving the front door, right? Because I'd be in my office and it was right by the front door, and they would just go out, and I'd be like, oh, what'd she sell? I'm like, oh, shoot, there goes the TV. I'm like, what? And it was so weird to see it just completely disintegrating inside of our home. And the feeling I got, it was a feeling of release. I didn't feel like I missed any of that stuff at all. Like, I was actually glad to get rid of it. And, you received some capital for it. We sold our house at the peak of the market, right? I mean, I assume it could still go up, but to not have to go buy another home. So to be able to take all the collective capital that we accrued from selling cars and all this stuff, we now invested that, and that's producing cash flow for us, right? Literally, you wouldn't have to work, right? Just from selling all our stuff, and just that alone. So now to have no debt, to have no worry, the financial side feels really, really good. and it's also way less expensive. I haven't cooked dinner in 6 weeks. I eat out every single night, and I eat healthy food, and I live in someone else's Airbnb, and there's some struggles that come with that from time to time, but like the power's included, the cable's included. Like financially, it's actually less expensive to live in Airbnbs on the road than it is to live with my mortgage, car, gas, like all these things, right? And so financially, it's been a lot less expensive. Our overhead has been a lot, and we've been living, like I said, we eat out nearly every meal. I don't do that at home, right? I cook and groceries and all that stuff. But it's the release also on top of the financial of like everything that you own, every possession takes a little away from you. Oh, I have to worry about like calling the weed guy for the yard, or I got to get my car washed, or if I wear this watch tonight, I'm worried about scuffing it against something based on where we're going. Like to get, and all those things add up, they compound, they take a little bit of your energy. So that's been the biggest gain I feel, is the level of energy I have back to be free of all the possessions and financially have, like you said, a total reset. It's been pure bliss, if I'm being honest. I will one day write a book about this and tell people like that you need to do this because it is pure bliss.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they don't really know their own financial situation until they do something like this. Like it's easy to think, I'm doing well, or I'm struggling, or it's hard to know how everything's going to pan out. But I like to think about it like if I, God forbid, if I keeled over and died tomorrow, how would my family be? Would they be well off, or would they be struggling? Would they have no debt, or would they have like an insurmountable amount of debt? And we all make these financial decisions throughout our lives. But when you really hit the reset button like you've done, it gives you a really good indication of where you're at right now. And so, I mean, that's amazing. So you guys are debt free, and are you traveling like at a discounted price, or have you been able to get discounted pricing as part of your influencer thing that you've got going on? Because I know you've been like 10 times more active on social media since you left the States than you were before, which is awesome because I can follow your journey.
Yeah, to answer your question, yes, we have. When we're just getting rolling with that, just as a matter and function of time and processes of setting up collaborations, right? So if we roll into like we rolled into Madeira, which is an island of Portugal, beautiful, stunning, but has a lot of really cool activities there. And one of the activities that we wanted to do there was canyoneering, a level 3 canyoneering, which had you abseiling or rappelling down this 200-foot waterfall, right? Just like crazy, awesome, amazing stuff. And for those who are into that, and the canyoneering for myself, we took my wife, my daughter-in-law, and my daughter. I think it was like $1,000, right, to do it, because I'm sure there's insurances and all this stuff. So I leveraged the fact that we have a travel company and a marketing firm. I said, hey, I'm going to come out with all my cameras. This is my Instagram. These are my Instagrams. This is my marketing firm. This is my travel company. We can promote you. Would you be interested in working together? And they gave me a 70% discount, right? It wasn't free, but 70% is pretty good. It saved me $700. So we went out there, and they gave us a private tour, right? So normally you're with a group of other people. We got a private tour because I said, hey, I'm going to be lugging these cameras around. I think it was another $500. It was, I saved quite a bit of money, and just had an awesome experience. So we're just now starting to lean into that again, where we've created a marketing kit. So I've given my agenda to my executive assistant. He's going to go out and start to research places that want to play ball. We're already there shooting it because we're launching a YouTube page. To your point at the beginning of the show, it's going to be called Rich and Homeless. I can talk about what that name actually means. And yeah, so yeah, we're leveraging it. So we are saving money through that as well, on top of the fact that we have zero debt and things are just cheaper here. My wife and I went to dinner. I'm talking like overlooking the water, sunset, bottle of wine, steak, tuna, fresh caught, $32, right? That would be $132 in the United States. Yeah, so that was a Nazare.
So, yeah, tell us where did the name Rich and Homeless come from?
Yeah, so it just came to me in like one day. I don't know why. I was making a joke about something, saying how we're going to be rich. We want the channel and the brand to project richness, like redefining rich. So to us, now naturally you need to have money to do these types of things. So there is the financial side. You got to understand how to invest, and obviously you and I work together on that. You got to understand how to be responsible with your money, be responsible as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, to be able to create your businesses. So there is the financial side of rich, but it's really more rich in experience, rich in culture, rich in life. You know, I think a lot of times American culture, it's all about hustle, grind, buy, get things, Amazon packages stacking up on your doorstep, like that type of thing. I haven't seen a single Amazon truck or a package outside of anyone's door since I've been here in 6 weeks. It's wild, right? So just some of those nuances. So that's the rich. And the homeless is pretty obvious, which is, you know, we have no home, but showing people how you don't really need one when you're experiencing this type of lifestyle. And then the two are kind of a bit of an oxymoron, right? You know, rich and homeless is just kind of a shocker. Like those two words don't belong together. So my marketing mind was like, okay, that's fun. You know, it might offend a few people because they'll read it out of context, and I don't really care.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about as far as what you mentioned earlier in the podcast. You told me that you were working 4-hour days and getting more done than you were when you were working a full day. Talk to me about that. We're running a little short on time, so what I want to do is I've got to hit that before we end this thing. So tell me how it is that you're doing that.
So I had a vision, right? That it was possible to be able to, so having multiple different businesses is a challenge all unto itself, right? How do you compartmentalize as an entrepreneur doing all these different things? And when you're an entrepreneur, you have the tendency to wear a lot of hats and do a lot of things. Within my marketing firm and all these other businesses, I wore a lot of hats because I want it done my way or the highway. And I sort of realized that I needed to, I watched this YouTube video and this guy said, eliminate, delegate, or automate everything in your life. And this was this digital nomad dude that was working 4 hours a day and he had like multi-million-dollar businesses. And just those 3 words, eliminate, delegate, automate. Everything, systems, processes, people, all of that. Build systems around you. So I was like, damn. I'm like, that's brilliant. I was like, it's so simple. I was like, but I'm not doing it. I'm like, how did I not know this? And so I was on a mission for a year, Gib, of just every single thing I did. How do I create a process around it, a system, and I hired an operations manager, and I said, fire me from my own company. That's literally what I said. I said, fire me from everything. He's like, I got you. And so shout out to Michael, came in and he literally filed me from everything. We brought in consultants, tech stacks. We went through some growing pains, right? The customer experience had to change dramatically. There was a lot of stuff that had changed, but our company tripled in size in doing this. And we've grown quite big. Products has changed. The experience has changed for customers, and was able to then create this whole system around me, and what I call this maker manager time, which I don't know how much time we have on that, but that was a big difference in how I manage my calendar. And then it was like the plan was made, and then I got on the plane, I came over here, and I was like, well, let's see if this stuff works, right? And it's worked perfectly. I got out of the way. I created systems, processes, and I got out of the way, and I let my team do it and the tech stack do it, and it's been incredible. And because I'll end with this, because I have more time without just like being involved in myself, the work I can get done without being bothered is deeper and more meaningful, so I can make a bigger impact with the company and where I should.
Yeah, no, that's huge. That's huge. So for somebody that wants to do what you're doing, that someone that aspires to sell all their worldly assets and go travel around the world, or maybe they don't sell all their assets. Maybe they just want to sell certain things, but they want to be able to have an experience like this that's like a a once in a lifetime type experience, something different than what everybody else is doing. Like, what are the steps to get? Can you break it down into? Can you articulate kind of what you have to do in order to accomplish something like this?
It's a lot, but given the time we have, I'll kind of give my Reader's Digest version. I think it first starts with a belief that you can do it. I think a lot of people think, and they look at their circumstances in their life, and they're like, I couldn't do that, right? And we're at that point. We couldn't do this, right? Everyone's at that point. But if you believe you can do it, then and you have that energy and that manifestation about you, things start to fall into place. You look at things differently, and you find a way to fit it into your puzzle. Second, I think you need to make a decision. Are you doing it, right? You got to commit, right? And with that commitment comes a goal and a steadfast deadline, right? Put the pin on the map. We had this giant calendar on our wall. It's called the Big Ass Calendar. It was gigantic, and it had these Post-it notes with all these benchmarks that we had to hit. So we planned everything out. We looked at the end goal, then we worked our way backwards in terms of, okay, we got to sell our house by here. We have to have the businesses running here. We have to have our investments in by this. So logically find the end goal and then reconstruct or deconstruct it backwards and reverse engineer it to a point in time where you can start. And then instead of looking at this big, hairy, audacious goal, just like training for an Ironman, right? Like, I got to go 140.6 miles and I can only swim 100 yards today. That can seem like impossible. But if I just know in tomorrow's workout, I swim this, and then 2 weeks from now, I do this, and then just chip away at it, right? Small ball, singles, doubles, singles, doubles. You don't need a home run, right? A lot of people see the end result. They don't know in the pain. But just know in that journey, there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be curveballs. There's going to be stuff that's thrown at you, and you're going to want to quit. It's going to get hard. Like I said, I was throwing up. I had anxiety. I was stressed to the nines. I even said before we started this journey, I said, there are going to be times to my wife, I was like, I'm probably going to snap at you. I was like, because I'm going to be stressed out and tired, and so are you. I was like, let's just know when that happens, stop, and be like, okay, we knew this was going to happen. We're right where we want to be. We're in the thick of it, right? And just as you create this, just know that who you become in that journey is more impactful than the outcome you're about to reach. So like, you're here and you're going here, but this is just a point in time, right? But it's in between all that meat, right? That we can't discount that time, right? That's where the experience is. So you look at the crappy times, the hard, the struggles, the throwing up. I remember throwing up a couple times and being like, laughing, like, sweet, it's right where I need to be. I'm like, I'm right at the cusp of this is what I'm physically capable of. I'm like, good. And I used to do that when I was training for Ironman. So it would just be like, when it was so painful, I'd be like, yes, this is what I wanted. This is what I signed up for. This is where I become the next level or version of myself. So that is, I think, we can go into a lot of other details around all of this. We are starting a community, Gib, probably in about 3 months, where we're going to teach people how to do what you just asked, step by step by step, because I want to allow a space for people to experience the same thing and give them the resources and tools to be able to do it.
So, Derek, for people that want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you and also for them to follow you along in your journey? Because I know, man, you're putting out a lot of content. People can check out what you're doing from day to day. How do they get in touch with you? Yeah,
a couple places. You can go to my website. It's just derekpeterson.life. So it's DerekPeterson.life. That's my personal website, and that sort of branches out to the different businesses. You can find all my social media channels on there, all the different companies we have. If you want to follow the travel journey, right now you can go to our Instagram, it's just Amy and Derek Travel. We're soon launching a YouTube page for travel, the rich and homeless, and then a personal business YouTube page as well, just teaching people about entrepreneurship and much of what you're doing, Gib, in terms of just providing value to entrepreneurs who want to kind of level up their game, and but just do it with a bit of a nomad twist. So, but that's probably the best way to get in contact with me. All my emails, contact forms are right on there. One last place would be my email. You can email me at my marketing firm. So it's Derek, DEREK, at adaptmediaagency.com. So I should probably have less places to get through to me, but those are a few spots.
Yeah, but the main place that would contain all your different contact info is derekpeterson.life. Derek, look, man, I love what you're doing. It takes a ton of guts to do what you've done, and I mean, I've got a ton of respect for you. We've been friends for a long, long time, and I just love watching you on your journey. You're one of those people that increases my energy level, makes me want to go out and run an Ironman or something. So maybe I'll maybe when we sign off here, I'll go for a jog or something. But
in your suit.
Yeah, maybe in the suit. Of course, when I run around with the suit in the neighborhood, everybody runs inside their house. They think I'm coming to
sell them something.
Yeah, exactly. But look, brother, it's been a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your travels. Be safe, and thanks again for coming on.
Thanks, Gib. Appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Go Big with Gib. If you haven't already, go follow us on social media at Gib Irons. We'll see you next time.